When Isaac Newton proposed his theory of gravity, the world recognized it as one of the greatest scientific discoveries of all time. Gravity explained why apples fall, why planets move in orbits, and why human beings remain connected to the Earth. It became the cornerstone of modern physics. Yet beyond the walls of laboratories and mathematics, Newton's discovery carries with it a profound philosophical truth. Gravity is not only a physical law, but also a metaphor for existence itself, a reminder that nothing in this world can exist, act, or be thought without a ground. Philosophy, unlike science, does not test in laboratories, but reasons through logic, analogy, and reflection. From this perspective, Newton's law of gravity opens a deep philosophical field of study, the necessity of ground. Newton observed that the same force which brings an apple to the ground keeps the moon in orbit. Gravity pulls all things downward, binding them to the Earth. A child, even before knowing physics, trusts this law. When he throws a ball into the air, he is certain it will fall back to the ground. This universality gives gravity two dimensions: scientific certainty, measured, predictable, calculable; philosophical necessity, symbolic of foundation, stability, and limit. The ground is more than soil or surface. It is the base upon which all existence leans. A tired man seeks a bench or the earth to rest. A student requires a table to write. A building cannot stand without a foundation. A tree cannot grow without roots embedded in ground. In each case, the ground is not optional, it is essential. Metaphorically, the same applies to thought and action. An idea cannot float in emptiness, it requires a conceptual foundation. A decision cannot exist in a vacuum, it must rest on reasons or principles. Even language itself leans on a shared ground of meaning. Thus, what Newton demonstrated in physics, philosophy extends into life. All being, all action, and all thought presuppose a ground. When we say that gravity pulls things down, we also recognize that all movement happens within a sphere of limits. A person may jump but not float into the skies. A ball may rise, but it will always return. In the same way, human existence is bounded by parameters. Philosophically, this teaches us that freedom is not limitless. We imagine, but always from a starting point. We act, but always within conditions. We think, but always against a background of assumptions and logic. Gravity reveals to us that existence is never without boundaries. At first glance, science and philosophy seem different. Science tests in laboratories, philosophy argues through reason. Yet in Newton's gravity we find them closer than expected. The scientist proves the physical law, the philosopher observes the logic behind the law. Both conclude that nothing floats without support, everything requires a ground, existence is bound within parameters, the child and the ball. Certainty of return reflects the certainty of foundation, the bench in the park. Tiredness always looks for support, showing our dependence on ground, the writing table. Knowledge production itself rests on a base. Architecture buildings collapse without foundations, as knowledge collapses without grounding principles. The athlete. After exertion he leans on the ground, proving that even strength needs support. Each analogy confirms that ground is not accidental, but necessary for both action and rest. Newton's discovery is a triumph of science but also a lesson for philosophy. Gravity shows that the ground is not only a physical fact but also a philosophical truth, the foundation of existence, action, and thought. Nothing floats freely, everything requires support. In this way, gravity becomes a bridge between science and philosophy. Science explains how it works, philosophy explores what it means. Both agree on the same principle, that the ground is indispensable. Thus, when we ponder Newton's law beyond physics, we discover not only the mechanics of falling bodies but also the logic of existence itself. In understanding gravity, we understand not just the physical world, but the very nature of being itself.